At 2 a.m. on June 6, 1944, the first Allied paratroopers began dropping behind German lines in Normandy. German commanders on the ground immediately recognized what was happening. This was not a raid. This was the invasion. General Friedrich Dollmann, commander of the German Seventh Army, desperately needed the Panzer reserves. He contacted Hitler's Supreme Command and requested authorization to move the armored divisions toward Normandy. He was refused. The request had to go to Hitler personally. Hitler was asleep at his mountain retreat and his staff refused to wake him. They knew his temper, they feared his wrath, and they believed, because Hitler had told them, that any report of invasion at Normandy was almost certainly a deception. So they let him sleep. At 6:30 a.m., Allied troops hit the beaches. At Omaha Beach, American soldiers were being cut down by the hundreds. At Utah Beach, troops were pushing inland. At the British and Canadian beaches, the situation was desperate but advancing. Still, Hitler slept. At 9 a.m., 9 hours after the first paratroopers landed, Hitler finally woke up. His staff briefed him on the situation. He was initially dismissive. He was still convinced Normandy was a feint. He did not release the panzers. At a noon military conference, Hitler was almost cheerful. He told his generals, "This is the invasion. And now we have them where we can destroy them." He believed Germany would crush the invasion once it was fully committed. He still thought Pas de Calais was coming. He did not release the panzers. By the time Hitler finally authorized movement of the SS Panzer Corps, it was mid-afternoon. The critical window had passed, and then the Allied air forces arrived. Without cloud cover, without darkness, the German panzer columns moving toward Normandy were attacked relentlessly from the air. The 12th SS Panzer Division, which could have reached the beaches in hours, took 2 full days to cover a distance it should have covered in 1. By the time German armour arrived in force, the Allies had already landed over 150,000 men and were pushing inland. The beachhead was established. The invasion had succeeded. But here is what most history books don't tell you. Hitler's failure on D-Day wasn't just a tactical mistake. It was the inevitable result of a system he had built himself. A system designed to concentrate all power in one man. By 1944, no German general could act without Hitler's approval. The officer corps had been systematically stripped of independence. Generals who disagreed with Hitler were dismissed, imprisoned, or worse. The men who could have saved Germany on June 6th were professionals who understood exactly what needed to be done. But they were prisoners of a chain of command that ended with one man asleep in the mountains. No single person, no matter how intelligent, no matter how experienced, can process all the information, make all the decisions, and respond to all the crises that a complex organization faces in real time. On June 6, 1944, the most powerful military machine in Europe was paralyzed. Not by Allied firepower, not by superior numbers, but by the inability of a single man to be woken up at the right moment. Germany never recovered from D-Day. Within weeks, Allied forces were racing across France. Within 11 months, the war in Europe was over. Rommel once said, "In the absence of orders, find something and kill it." On the morning that mattered most, the orders never came. And that was the day Hitler lost the war. This has been Fallen Empires. If history's greatest turning points fascinate you, subscribe, because next week we go inside the night Rome burned and why Caesar got the blame for everything.